Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com at 7:03 a.m. on March 26th, Tuesday. Glad to have you here. Don't forget to click that like button and hit the follow if it's your first time here and you end up enjoying the content. We'd like to make sure that you come back and join us for the regular show schedule. We are tracking a disaster in Baltimore Harbor where the Francis Scott Key Bridge has collapsed. It is an ongoing mass casualty event we will be talking about this morning. Joining us live in studio to discuss this and so much more is the lovely Camelia Peterson, who's here with us today. Good morning, CJ.
Good morning.
Glad to have you here. A bit of a somber story
It
to
is.
start the news this morning. But before we get to that, real quick, let's start on a happy note. Our friend Matt Unruh, we have a big congratulations to offer to him for the birth of his first child. Congratulations.
Yes, congratulations. So happy for you guys.
Yeah, we're glad to have you, Matt, join the ranks of the parental units, just like I'm about to be like 3 or 4 months behind you. He's having a little boy. We sent him. Did you see the picture of the little onesie we sent him?
Yes.
It's the come and take it with the binky.
Yeah. Cute.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Well, CJ, we're glad to have you here. We got you here for about an hour here on the show this morning. Yep. So thanks so much for stepping into studio. I'll go ahead and go to the live feed of the event, which occurred earlier this morning in Baltimore Harbor. This is the famous Francis Scott Key Bridge. And of course, Camille, you know who Francis Scott Key was.
Yes.
You know, the man who wrote the
Star Spangled Banner.
Star Spangled Banner. And I have the footage of the incident itself, which appears to show a cargo ship colliding with the Francis Scott Key Bridge in Baltimore, which caused it to collapse. Let's take a look here. So obviously, it's an ongoing situation here. There were reports of multiple vehicles and human beings which were in the water this morning. The Francis Scott Key Bridge is down this morning after a cargo ship hit it, and of course, you know the conspiracy theories are already starting to fly this morning. However, the most obvious explanation is a cruise ship hit it. I know I'm not supposed to make fun of a natural tragedy, but
It is hard to fathom how that happens, though, right? I
mm,
mean, it just is.
yes. Well, here's the thing. What the first thing that I thought of this morning is, and I know maybe I shouldn't. What are the diversity, equity, and inclusion standards
Oh,
for the cargo ship industry these days? Oh, is it wrong for me to think that? Because I mean, look at what's happening with Boeing, for example. I mean, midair, doors are flying off into the nether, and the standards across mass industries have fallen precipitously, whether it's the military, whether it's the private institutions that have looked for opportunities to get. And listen, hiring as an employer these days, it's a nightmare, Camellia.
hmm.
It's an absolute nightmare trying to find people to hire. But I don't know. I don't think it's wrong for me to think right off the bat. I mean, first of all, maybe it was just the person was drunk, and we've had that issue with
I was
pilots
going to
as well.
say, yeah, that's happened. It seemed like there was something a long time ago where that happened, where you had a captain who was drunk and,
Mhm.
they had a major catastrophe as a result.
Well, there was that situation with what was it, the Suez Canal, where it got blocked. Remember all the
It got
international
sideways,
shipping?
right?
Yeah,
That's
this was
crazy.
this was like a year, 2 years ago, but all the international shipping was blocked for almost a month because the ship had gone sideways. And I don't remember if it was alcohol related, but um, obviously more details are going to be coming out about this in the coming weeks. A container ship rammed into a major bridge in Baltimore early Tuesday, causing it to snap and plunge into the river below. Several vehicles fell into the chilly waters, and rescuers were searching for survivors. Two people were rescued from the waters under the Francis Scott Key Bridge. One was in serious condition. The fire chief of Baltimore, James Wallace, has said that authorities are looking for upwards of 7 people,
Mm.
but said that number could change. It was not clear if the 2 rescued were included in the 7. Now, this Francis Scott Key Bridge is a major, major bridge in Baltimore. It's one that I've driven over several times between New York and Washington, D.C. This is going to cause a huge snarl in that city this morning. The officials are calling this a mass casualty event in the major American city just outside of Washington, D.C. The structure snapped and buckled at several points and tumbled into the water in just a matter of seconds. So the video of it is pretty stark, but it is a developing mass casualty event that we are reporting on this morning.
I think if there's anything, any positive light out of this is that it happened as early in the morning as it did. I mean, it's unthinkable if it had been at a later hour with where traffic was heavier.
Yeah, Urs Mommy over in the chat is sort of echoing your sentiment there. She's saying, be thankful it wasn't in the middle of the day. Yeah, it's going to be interesting as we sort of find out what's happening here. And without speculating too wildly here, I mean, there's the possibility, of course, that the driver may have been drunk or the captain may have been drunk. But I mean, how do you not know when you're taking a cargo ship that that you don't have clearance for a
Mm,
bridge like this? I mean, somebody, you know what? Here the problem is with things like this too. It seems like there's never really any true accountability
mm,
at the end of the day, right? Because here's the thing, of course, this industry is hyper regulated. So what happens
yeah.
what happens when you have an industry like this and it's regulated to hell? Then the accountability gets spread out. It's kind of like what happened with the vaccine, Camellia, where the Operation Warp Speed, get out a cure as quickly as possible to prevent the COVID-19, which you could understand why people were in that kind of frame of mind. Everybody was scared. But then, of course, what do the vaccine manufacturers demand? No accountability, right?
Right.
Right?
Well, and
They
quality goes down, and yeah,
Right, transparency goes down, accountability goes down because they wanted the freedom to be immune from lawsuits that might
right.
occur. And in this situation, we don't know who's at fault or who's to blame, but this industry is likely to have several safeguards in place to prevent the kind of accountability that this deserves from ever happening. So this is the bridge in Baltimore, the Francis Scott Key Bridge, which has collapsed after a collision with a cruise ship last night. Sonar has indicated there are several vehicles in the water, civilian vehicles. The water temperature there is about 47 degrees Fahrenheit. That's 8 degrees Celsius for those who might be listening in from Argentina and Europe. I know we've been building a bigger audience these days from there, but some of the cargo appears to be dangling from the bridge, which spans the Patapsco River at the entrance to a busy harbor. The river leads to the Port of Baltimore, which is a major hub for shipping on the East Coast. The bridge was opened in 1977, named for the writer of the Star Spangled Banner. So I really don't know what else we have to say about this. I mean, we're not really a reporting show, we're not really a news show, but when news happens, we want to cover it here this morning. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts. You can send a text in and let us know what's on your mind at 573-319-1586. Again, the text lines are open this morning. You can send us a text anytime, though, at 573-319-1586. Again, 573-319-1586. Good to hear from you. Let's switch topics here for a few minutes and move on to something else. Camilla, we went to a really nice event here in Jefferson City last night.
Yeah.
I get kind of tired of political events. I'll be honest. I'm not loving them so much these days as I was in my early 20s when I was really fired up for Ron Paul and going out and preaching the gospel. But I have to say that last night, seeing you and Tony and Eva and Grover Norquist at this event that was put on by Tim Jones, Speaker Tim,
Hmm.
was a refreshing change of pace because I'm used to hearing Republicans looking for an opportunity to sell us down the river, which is what we're going to talk about here in a couple of minutes. But last night was a speech that actually kind of like put a little bit more wind in my sails to keep up the fight for liberty, as Grover Norquist was talking about the somebody asked him, "You want to tell the story? You want me to?" About the guy who was the Missouri State Representative who was asking the question about like the initiative petition for what should we do for legalizing sports gambling here in Missouri? Do you want to do you want to tell the story? Go ahead, Camelia.
Representative David Castile, and he basically was talking about, what should our approach be? Because kind of like what happened with marijuana, the legislators didn't, do their job and pass it in the legislature so that they could kind of have some control over it and make changes as needed. So a terrible ballot initiative passed, and now it's in the Constitution. And the same thing is happening with sports betting. And so his question was basically, what should the legislature be doing with this? And his point, I think, was that the legislature should be taking care of the sports gambling issue or the sports betting issue so that, we don't get stuck with something in the Constitution, and they can make changes to it and have a little bit more of a say in how that's done and executed.
Yeah, well, it was just funny to me because I think the humor it was almost you had to be there moment because the way the state representative was asking Grover Norquist the question was just like, when the marijuana initiative petition in Missouri passed, all that money that was supposed to go to the government got siphoned off to these other groups. And that money should go to the government. It should go to us. So like all these other people are getting that money. It's supposed to go to us. And I'm kind of sitting there and I'm like,
Grover Norquist's response to that. What do I think you should do with it? You should regulate it as little as possible and tax it as little as possible.
yes. And I mean, I was excited about that, honestly. Like, and I'm kind of like, here's the thing. So he said that, and there was kind of like this like dramatic pause for a moment.
Except for a few of us were like,
Yeah, well, quietly.
right.
We were like kind of quietly, like, applauding a little bit. We're like, oh, okay, yeah, this is what we want to hear. But the state rep who was like looking at Grover, I mean, literally, he looked like he's like, I don't get it. So he's like, so he actually repeated it again, which I'm on the inside, I'm like screaming, yeah, but I'm trying to like stay professional. And the guy, the state rep is looking at Grover like Grover is like telling him like he's from space or from Mars or something. And the state rep just kind of goes, so keep the taxes low and the regulations as small as possible. And Grover's like, yes. And I'm like, yes. Yes, yes. And the whole room is kind of like,
Well,
yes. That's exactly what we're talking about.
mentioned Argentina just a couple of minutes ago,
Yeah.
and it was kind of exciting. So they do the Center, Grover Norquist with Americans for Tax Reform. They do what they call Center Right Coalition meetings around the country, and so we have a few of them here. And basically, it's to create a coalition of it's like the Leave Us Alone coalition.
Yes.
Love that. But anyway, he said that they have meetings in Argentina because they have some groups that are, overseas.
Yeah.
I was like, that's really cool because, and I told him about everything that you've been doing with Millet and things like that. It was neat.
Yeah. And I was actually surprised to hear too that apparently they have a pretty good organization in Japan. Conservatives. Con-
Yeah.
yeah, conservatives and libertarians in Japan. Now, their system of government, the way it's set up, is like kind of even worse than the American system in terms of their party system. It's like
Mhm.
almost essentially a one party system in Japan. But apparently, the way their districts are set up, they have like good organizations and they have their regular meetings to gather together for people of like mind. And do you want to like kind of like talk through like the secret to Grover's success for these meetings? Because if more people, I feel like in the liberty community held meetings with these kinds of rules in place, a lot more would get done. Did you kind of hear how he set that up?
Right. Well, go ahead and set up how you
Okay.
remember it.
So the way that Grover like set up the meetings in order to make them effective is that if you want to stand up and give a speech, you can, but it's for 3 minutes. Okay. And that's the
Yes.
that's the longest you're allowed to talk, which is just like, thank God, yes. And then number two, you can't talk about what anybody else
Right.
is doing.
Yep.
You have to talk about what you're doing. So you don't get to, because how many meetings can I tell you where I've been at where it's just like some, like, okay boomer gets up and wants to give a 15-minute speech about,
Hmm.
we need to make Barack Obama do this, and we need to make George W. Bush do that, and we need to make that person do that. And it's like, okay, what are you going to do?
Right.
Okay. So the person has to actually say, this is what I'm going to do.
Hmm.
Now there's something I haven't seen for a long time. Joe Spinella over on YouTube just gave a super chat donation. Thank you, Joe.
Thanks.
Appreciate that.
Well, I have been to several of the Center Right Coalition meetings, and it's set up exactly like he was talking about. You go in, everybody, brings their stuff if they want to share something, and it is just like you go around the table, and it's boom, 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 boom. You say your piece. You try to be a little witty, you try to be quick, you try to be succinct, but you talk about what you have going on. And the other thing they do too is like what you bring into this room, unless you give permission or you bring handouts or something, like it stays in this room, because
Mhm.
this is a place for, whether you're a business leader, whether you are in, a nonprofit, or if you're in a grassroots group, or you're an elected official, whatever it is, or you're a candidate, you come in, you're there to like exchange those ideas and share what's going on, because we're better whenever we are, working together in that coalition.
Now, the last part of the way that they run their meetings is to say that it's 3 minutes long. That's how long you can talk for. You have to only talk about what you're doing to
Hmm.
solve a problem. And then number three is you can't talk about what happened in the past. You can only talk about what you're going to do in the future or what you're
Right.
working on at the moment, which I think is a really good way to
Right.
organize
Forward
things.
looking. Absolutely.
Yeah, because it's easy to get up there and just say, "Oh, we did this, we did that." It doesn't, that's what happened. We're tired of this. We wish that that hadn't happened. Blah blah blah. But if you get 3 minutes to say what you're working on or what you're going to do in the future, that keeps meetings on track, and I think it's just far more interesting.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah.
Yep. So we had a great meeting last night, and I guess Grover Norquist is having. They're doing like a group this morning.
They are having, so this is the Jefferson City Center Right Coalition meeting that they have during session, and it's at the Capitol. That's where I have to scoot off to around 8.
hmm Let's go ahead and reset for those who might just be tuning into the Wake Up America show. Good morning. I'm Austin Peterson. We're glad to have you here. Thank you for joining us on the show. The show schedule is Mondays through Fridays, 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time, and where we stream the show live, where we react to breaking news, such as what we'll be covering here in just a moment, to remind everyone of the mass casualty event, which is occurring in Baltimore this morning. We will be talking about that here in just a moment. I'd like to ask you, if you are watching the show this morning, to please help us to spread the news this morning and click the like button on the stream. We are streaming live at rumble.com as well as x.com and a few other platforms as well. So if you're joining us live this morning, please do like and share in order for us to be able to spread the ideas that we love and care about this morning, and Camelia and I are fighting for. We appreciate that very much. We are tracking the news of a cargo ship which has hit Baltimore's Key Bridge, Francis Scott Key Bridge. Rescuers are looking for people in the water, according to the AP this morning. A container ship had rammed into this bridge early this morning, causing it to snap and plunge into the river below. I am following some of this footage this morning. I do have a live feed. There are rescue efforts which are currently underway. I have the clip right here of the actual event you can see of the bridge being hit by the cargo ship.
It was surreal how
Yeah.
quickly it all came down.
Yeah. I am seeing some unconfirmed reports this morning that it's possible that the ship might have lost power and drifted, and
Mm.
that's why it may have gone into the path of this bridge. Obviously, this bridge is not prepared to have these kinds of ships going underneath it, so it wouldn't have been a normal event for a ship of this size to attempt to go traverse under this kind of a bridge. The Baltimore Bridge, the Francis Scott Key Bridge, has been downed this morning. multiple people, reportedly seven this morning, according to the latest reports that we have from the AP. 7 people were put into the water. Authorities may be looking for upwards of 7 people, according to the Baltimore Fire Chief, James Wallace. The ship had crashed into one of the bridge's supports, causing the structure to snap. The vessel caught fire and thick black smoke was billowing out of it. The Key Bridge tumbling down, according to Baltimore Mayor Brandon Scott, says, never thought that you would physically see the Key Bridge tumble down like that. It looked like something out of an action movie, an unthinkable tragedy. Sonar has indicated there are vehicles, civilian vehicles, in the water where the temperature is about 47 degrees Fahrenheit. 2 people have been rescued, but there is no word about whether or not that rescue operation, the 2 people that were rescued were part of the 7 that were reported to go in there. And as Camelia was saying a little bit earlier on the show, I guess we could just be thankful that it wasn't something that happened in the middle of the day. But I don't have you ever been out there to Baltimore? You've been
I have
traveling across
not.
this? Yeah.
No.
When I lived in Washington, D.C., I used to drive back and forth a lot between New York and DC, and I sometimes would go across the Francis Scott Key Bridge. So I have seen it there. Just try to get into the mind of somebody who is in a vehicle. I mean, it is kind of like an action movie, kind of nothing that you would ever think you'd see in real life, and boy, I just can't imagine putting myself in that situation, and these are the kinds of events, Camelia, that make you think about, like, what kind of safety features do you have ready to go in
Right.
your car? Like, we've got a lot of self-sufficient Missouri boys out here that'll carry these things with them that'll, glass breakers
Right. That's what I was thinking. Like, do you have something in your car door that can break your window?
on their keys, right? And soon I'm going to have a baby on board, so that's another thing that I'm going to be thinking about in my mind. The other day, speaking of baby on board, because now Stephanie and I, we bought a couple of those signs to put on the back of our vehicles.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. And, we posted about it, and somebody was like, when I see baby on board in somebody's car, I don't drive like, nobody drives more cautiously around the baby on board. Well, I'm like, well, first of all, you're an asshole. And second of all, it's actually not for you, because people who know what baby on board signs are for know that you are going to be an asshole driver anyway. You don't care. But also, it's really just it's for emergency responders,
Hmm.
first responders. So, if something like this were to happen and they saw that there was that sign, they would know to look,
Right.
right, to look for a child. So, something to think about. We're going to take a couple minute break here on the Wake Up America show. Just an FYI, we do have bonus content available for you on the program. We are continuing the theme this week of libertarian movies in U.S. history. So if you'd like to unlock that bonus content, you can do what Mighty Megatron just did. Thank you, Mighty Megatron. And he made a donation.
Yay.
He said glass breakers alone don't work on modern cars because the side glass is laminated like the windshields. Lamented. I'm not quite sure what that means. So,
Oh, it is like it's not shatterproof, so it just kind of,
mhm.
yeah,
Yeah. So, thank you
or
for
it is
that.
shatterproof. Yeah.
Appreciate that, Mighty Megatron. And we're now $2 closer to our $50 goal. If we raise $50 by the end of the show, then you'll unlock today's bonus content to find out one of the most libertarian movies in U.S. history. I bet a lot of you haven't seen it. So stick around, keep those donations rolling in, Mighty Megatron. Go to apforlibertyshop.com, get yourself something really nice. And if we raise $50 by the end of the show or sell $50 worth of merch, you'll unlock that content. We'll be right back with more on the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
Expanse of time, a year might seem like a mere moment, but oh, what a year it's been. In September 2022, Austin and Stephanie Peterson embarked on a journey to wake up America. They began humbly, with just 20 souls tuning in, learning, listening, and though challenges arose, like the looming shadow of YouTube demonetization, their spirit never waned. And now, thanks to you, thousands rise with the sun to join them, to listen, to engage, to be a part of a community. So here's to you, and to Wake Up America, for memories shared, for friends made, for the journey ahead, and for never, ever forgetting to rise and freedom. Happy anniversary.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message Believe me, Austin Peterson is the best. He's got the greatest Wake Up America show I've ever seen. Whenever I tune in the mornings and watch the live stream, let me tell you, he has got the absolute best content. I love his guests. It's just a total blast to watch, and I highly endorse and recommend the Wake Up America show. It's terrific, believe me.
Is the outdoor of your home about as exciting as a library? Then spice it up and unbore your space with our custom metal signs. Crafted with love and a bit of libertarian magic, you can customize your own metal sign at ap4libertyshop.com. So head to ap4libertyshop.com, customize your own metal sign today.
Welcome to a world of vocal discovery at Peterson Voice Studio. I'm Justin Peterson, here to guide your musical journey. Envision a place where your voice reaches new heights, where every note tells a story. We embrace all singers, from the enthusiastic shower vocalists to aspiring stars, ensuring each voice finds its unique rhythm and tone. Are you ready to elevate your voice? Visit petersonvoicestudio.com and sign up for remote lessons tailored just for you. Let's begin this melodious journey together.
Tired of spending your hard-earned money on woke corporations that don't share your pro-freedom values? Fed up with sipping liberal lattes and progressive cappuccinos? Introducing Founding Flavors from AP for Liberty Shop. Get your day started with Washington's Revolutionary Roast. As robust and principled as the man himself, this blend is the shot of energy heard round the world. Or maybe you want to taste the fervor of freedom with Adams's Patriotic Perk. It's as dynamic and balanced as the U.S. Constitution, sure to awaken your spirit of liberty. For the aficionados, we've got the Jeffersonian Java, a complex mix of flavors that speaks volumes about your refined tastes. And don't forget Betsy's Liberty Lullaby, our decaf option, crafted with the same care and dedication Betsy Ross put into our Star-Spangled Banner. This blend lets you enjoy the taste of freedom anytime without losing sleep. No woke beans here, folks. Just pure, patriotic, pro-freedom flavors brewed with love for liberty. So why compromise your principles for a cup of coffee? Stand up for your values, perk up your patriotism, and start your day the American way. Get your founding flavors at ap4libertyshop.com. Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. We're glad and thankful to have you here. We're streaming live at rumble.com/AP for Liberty and at x.com/AP for Liberty. Do us a favor, will you? Click that like button on the feed and either repost us or follow us on Rumble. You can share us on Rumble too, I think. We'd be glad to have you come back here and join us for the regular show schedule. Every Monday through Friday, every 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time on those days, the Wake Up America show streams here live. We'd love to have you be a regular guest. You can send us a text. Let us know what's on your mind at 573-319-1586. Again, the text lines are open anytime, night or day at 573-319-1586. Joining us in studio is the lovely Camelia Peterson. How you doing, CJ?
Good morning. Doing good.
Yes, glad to have you here. Thank you. We've got you for another 30 minutes or so. Yeah. Rocking and rolling. We're going to change the topic this morning. If you are tuned in here now to get updates on the Francis Scott Key Bridge, there are any breaking news alerts, we will bring those to you. We've been talking about it a little bit this morning, but now we're going to move on to another topic, which just kind of infuriated me. Yesterday I was having a conversation with Grover Norquist of Americans for Tax Reform, and I was talking to him a little bit about the rise or the return of progressive republicanism, which really chaps the ass of the progressive Republicans that I call progressive Republicans. But before I get into a conversation about progressive Republicans, Camelia, do you know kind of what the dictionary definition of progressive Republican is? Like, if you were to say, and I think most people, like, don't feel flummoxed. I mean, most people, if you ask them, what is the definition of a progressive, they wouldn't be able to answer that. They'd say it's an abortionist, or it's somebody who wears purple hair and screams because they're born a man and they want us to call them a woman or something like that. But that's actually kind of, they could be progressive, right, if they have those views, but you can be a progressive Republican.
Sure. Well, I don't know. I guess when I think of the term progressive Republican, I think of, people who kind of want to common good conservatism, like they want to use government to, kind of get those morally good for society things done. I don't know if that's what it is, but
So progressivism, and I'm going to just pull this from Wiki. I hope people will forgive me, but I'll define it myself. What I would say to someone if I were to explain it to somebody, and then I'll go to the Wiki definition of it that I just pulled up real quick. But progressivism is someone who believes that society should be ordered according to scientific principles.
Okay.
Now, when you hear something like that, you might think, well, that doesn't necessarily sound too bad. I mean, unless you're kind of so triggered by Anthony Fauci and like the science, you know what I'm saying? That you're just kind of like, or you're just like, I didn't come from no monkey. Unless you're, kind of like that way of thinking, then, which, I could understand the first, right? The former, but maybe I quibble with the latter. But progressivism in policies, it's a political philosophy. It has expressed itself. It's people who advocate for it generally are considered social democratic and part of the American left, but it has also expressed itself in right-wing politics, such as new nationalism and progressive conservatism. Right. So most people think about the progressive era. I mean, we're sort of still in the progressive era to some extent, right? We're governed according to progressive values. Progressive economic policies incorporate the socioeconomic principles and views of social democracy, which national conservatives do believe in, right? And political progressivism. These views are often rooted in the concept of social justice, and they have the goal of improving the human condition through government regulation, social protections, and the maintenance of public goods. It is based on the idea that capitalist markets, left to operate with limited government regulation, are inherently unfair, favoring big business, large corporations, and the wealthy. Hit the boo button again. So, Camelia, when I read this article yesterday, I thought to myself, well, look at what we have here. A bunch of Republicans that, if you dare call them progressive to their faces, would chafe and say, "Come from no monkey."
Whose picture was at the top of that article?
That's
Matt
Gaetz. Gaetz, who has been
Interesting.
good on many issues. And I don't know what they're trying to suggest here with this picture of him shaking hands with Biden's head of the FTC, Lena Khan. But you know what else? I can pull up this picture here for the audience to see. Take a look at this so you can see what I'm talking about when I say progressive Republicans. Okay, so here's the picture, and here it is up on the screen. So here's Lena Khan. This is the head of the Federal Trade Commission meeting with Matt Gaetz. And the headline is Biden's Trust Buster draws unlikely fans. They call themselves conservative Republicans. Yeah. So let me just read a little bit of this and share it with you, and then let's have a little bit of a conversation about what we, as freedom Republicans, as liberty Republicans, or people who actually believe in free markets and laissez-faire, what we're up against. Here's what the Wall Street Journal writes. They say, when you're trying to restructure the American economy, you take your allies wherever you can find them. And so Lena Khan, the liberal chairwoman of the FTC, welcomes her growing group of Republican fans. Jesus, this is triggering. She says that antitrust and anti-monopoly has historically been deeply bipartisan. Very true. As a matter of fact, it was really Teddy Roosevelt, the progressive Republican, that advanced that. She says, conceptually, conservatives view concentration of power skeptically, unless it's the church and state. And there has been a recognition that concentration of corporate power, which is in competition with their own, can in some instances be deeply antithetical to liberty. And when they say that, they mean their liberty to force their beliefs on the rest of us through government, right? Like the corporations have the power to do things, and we don't get to tell them what to do. Is essentially what their view is on this one. And maybe I'm being a tad hyperbolic, and they would quibble with me here. But isn't that really what it is? What progressives don't like? They don't like that people are allowed to do things that they do not approve of. That's what it is, isn't it?
Well, and I think on one hand, they want to like give corporations breaks. And then on the other hand, they complain whenever corporations like take advantage of those breaks, and then they do gain a lot of power, and the government is always the problem. I don't understand why they can't see that.
So 35-year-old Lena Khan, she has turned this agency into a battleship aimed at the big corporations she says have distorted markets and harmed consumers. She's been aggressive in big tech, but an anomaly in this partisan age. A group of conservatives have cheered her efforts, much like Charlie Brown thought that he was going to get to kick the football when Lucy gave him the football. The conservatives, as they call themselves, tend to be younger and Trumpier. And Florida Rep. Matt Gaetz says, as the Republican Party becomes more working class, we're less captive to the, quote, he calls this neolibertarian, the neolibertarian view that everything big business does to people is okay. First of all, what the is a neolibertarian? And second of all, when did any libertarian ever argue that everything big business does to people is okay? He says, can't be whores for big business and be the voice of the working class at the same time. Well, as much as I like Matt Gaetz in so many other ways, he's just dead wrong about this. And you know what this is? This strikes me as pandering to the economic illiterate class, right? Like, and not all blue collar employees and the working class, they're not all economically illiterate, Camellia. Like, they know home economics. And I think that there are a lot of blue collar people who understand the laws of supply and demand, and that you can't get something for nothing. But forgive me, Matt Gaetz and his fans. I would consider myself a moderate supporter of Matt Gaetz, but you're dead wrong on this one, because nobody here is being a whore for big business when they say, I'd like to be able to choose who I employ. I'd like to be able to fire people that aren't up to standards that I would set for them. I don't want to have the government force me to hire people that which we're seeing in DEI, ESG standards, which this article does go on to talk about here. But I think the conservatives are getting conned if they think that the left is going to let them kick the football and regulate corporations for those things.
This is populism disconnected from principle.
Right.
Because he's basically, when they talk like that, they're looking to create that divide between, the elites, the corporations or whatever, and make them the boogeyman to the working class, because that's what, you keep people ginned up about things. That's also what keeps you in power.
Yes. So now this is what the Wall Street Journal says. Grover Norquist was disagreeing when I asked him about this last night. He says that the article says the bipartisan traction suggests Khan is tapping into a generational shift in attitudes towards corporations and markets. More Republicans are bucking their alliance with big business and accusing corporations of hurting workers, stifling free speech, and imposing a liberal agenda on employees and consumers. See, and this, of course, is this, what do we have to, first of all, hurting workers. Okay. How are corporations hurting workers? By what? Imposing standards on their workers? Are corporations not allowed to do that, right? And the people love to use the word corporation. I'm a corporation. This business,
right?
This business is a corporation. And I have one part-time employee who works in Kansas City remotely, and he gets to sit in his house all day on his little twink butt and just type on a computer. And the government of Missouri forces me to carry insurance, workers' comp insurance, in case he breaks a fucking nail while he works at the laptop. So I have to pay all of this money on top. The unemployment, I have to pay. Like, if you here's the thing: these are people who have never hired people. I don't know what Matt Gates did in the private market,
I
but
don't
what,
either.
what is Matt Gates? Has Matt Gates ever had a job where he got to hire people? Now, maybe I'm going to eat my shoe on this one, and that's fine. I'd be much happier to have Matt Gates be someone who is not only gainfully employed in his past, but someone who actually hires. Oh, of course, he's a liar. I mean, a lawyer. Same thing. Yes, of course, wasn't he like a son of a politician, right? So he was, oh yeah, Don Gates, right? So his dad, right? So he's a lawyer. My dad is a lawyer. My father's a lawyer. Okay, so yeah, okay. Law. Lawyers hiring other lawyers. Does that really qualify, as being an employer to an extent? I don't know if that qualifies. Lawyers hiring other lawyers. I don't think that I can let them get away with that.
It's pretty elitist to me.
Yeah, it does. Me too, Camelia. Thank you very much. I don't think that qualifies. Caleb Vanderfelt's messaged in. He says, I would call our Senator Mike Bernskoetter a progressive Republican. LOL. Gosh, I don't care for him at all. Morning, Caleb. You're right. You're right, right? So progressives in the GOP, this is what we're talking about here. They're for income redistribution, they're for public services, universal health care, public education, Social Security, minimum wage laws, antitrust laws. As a matter of fact, Camellia, here in Missouri, like the kind of the far right crazies here in Missouri have gone so far right now that they're on the left when it comes to the
Mm,
school choice
I
issue.
know, right? Horseshoe theory is playing out.
Yeah. Yeah. So like now we have like, we've been fighting for school choice for years to try and get the money to follow the child. And yet now here in Missouri, we have to fight people who call themselves right wing, but at the end of the day, or if they're populists, they're really just progressives to an
Right.
extent.
They want to preserve like the socialist education system that we have, and
Hmm.
not give people a way out of it.
Hmm.
Like, it's just, yeah, it's crazy. Frustrating.
Yes. So we're talking about progressive Republicans today, and we're sort of calling them out because this article in the Wall Street Journal is talking about these conservatives who are, and maybe I should air quotes conservatives here, who are teaming up with the Biden administration's head of the FTC, Lena Khan. Um, but Khan has, she's filed a bunch of lawsuits against Meta, Microsoft, Amazon, failed. She's had a few other lawsuits against corporations that have been successful, like a drug maker, a biotech company. They also sued to block Kroger from acquiring Albertsons, the largest supermarket merger it would have been in U.S. history. And damn, can't they just leave us the hell alone? Like think about it. Like, what could they have been able to accomplish together if they could have merged rather than being forced? Can you imagine like building like a business, becoming rich, like starting from nothing, and like managing to like build up your wealth and the government steps in, and this is what you see with like conservatives here in Missouri who are like, I don't want to let China buy up the farmland. It was like, somebody said this the other day. They were like, how are you patriotic and you want to allow China to buy farmland in Missouri? I'm like, well, listen up, retard. What you're really saying is that I, as an American, if I invest in land here in my own country, that you're saying I can't sell my land to who I want. That's what you're saying. So who's really not the patriot, mother trucker? Am I not the patriot because I want to allow, Zhang Wei to set up, a homestead for his family here against an aggressive communist regime because he likes capitalism? Which, by the way, the Asians here in Missouri, specifically, they are very pro-capitalism. They are
Absolutely.
They are very anti-communist.
Well, and this whole thing is kind of what we've been seeing over the last few years with this move. And it is, a lot of people in the younger generation on the right towards this common good conservatism and questioning capitalism. And now, like the free market is not a good thing anymore. And it's depressing.
It is deeply depressing. It is deeply depressing. One of our listeners texted in this morning and said, I'm against picketing, but I don't know how to show it.
What? Did I get the joke?
They're against picketing, you know.
Oh, okay. Oh,
If ever there was a need for that button, there it was. Now, CJ824, she has as I think a legitimate concern. She weighs in on this one, and I want to help you to kind of think about this in a different way. She says this isn't about small businesses such as yourself, AP, which is what they always say, right? She says that I think this is more targeted to big tech monopolies and companies actively discriminating against conservative white Americans. Okay, that sounds good. Sounds good. Here's why it doesn't work. So, like, for example, Missouri passed what is called a marketplace facilitator tax. Did you hear me bitching about this the other day on
I
Twitter?
did. Yes.
Okay, so this is a perfect example of what CJ is talking about. So, the marketplace facilitator tax in Missouri was passed because they wanted to go after big tech. They wanted to crush Amazon because Amazon, which is a big business here in the United States, huge business, massive international business, is is it's not popular with conservatives, right? It's big tech, they're evil, right? We need to regulate them, so they passed a marketplace facilitator tax on all of the transactions that go through corporations like Amazon here. Well, Jade, guess who the majority of sellers are on Amazon? People like me.
Yeah.
Yeah, people like me. So what does Amazon do when the Republicans passed the marketplace facilitator tax? They passed that cost on to who? Me.
Mhm.
Me. And, at this point, I haven't raised prices at AP for Liberty Shop really all that much. If you do buy our items, you should buy them from our shop because I jack up those prices pretty significantly. Because not only do I have to pay the marketplace facilitator tax, I have to pay the sales tax, and I have to pay the Amazon fee. Plus, I have to pay the fee for the product itself, and then there's taxes associated with that. And guess what? It all comes back to me and you, right, Jade? When you go and you buy an item, if let's say you go to Amazon.com and you want to buy our Pepe, we've got like a retarded Pepe where he's dressed up as Crusader Knight,
Mhm.
and we sell a lot of those on Amazon, and we get a hit with a charge on every shirt. It's that marketplace facilitator tax. Big corporations don't pay taxes.
This is the same argument, same line of reasoning they use when they talk about getting rid of Section 230. And they don't think about that when you do that, that who it affects more are all of the smaller website and platform
Right.
owners. And it sounds good in holding big tech, responsible. But, we saw it with Twitter, now X. I mean, the problem wasn't that, they needed to stop censoring. The problem was that they needed to stop partnering with the government
Mhm.
to censor because the government is the problem.
Yeah, exactly. And in that situation, I'm in favor of that lawsuit
Yeah, for
because
sure.
the lawsuit there involves free speech where the government was censoring, right?
Absolutely.
When Meta, of their own volition, says we don't want conservative speech on there, that's not censorship
Right.
from a technical definition.
Right.
Now, we can argue that what they're doing is unfair, perhaps unjust, but we can't say it's censorship. And here's the thing. I know we're in a sort of a transition period in the tech world because here we are, we're streaming over at rumble.com. What's up, Rumblers? 234 of you watching us live there. Thank you. And we're also streaming on x.com. We're on YouTube. We are also on Facebook. And on all of these platforms here, those like YouTube would not exist. Or not, excuse me, Rumble wouldn't exist if they hadn't done to us
Right.
on YouTube what they've done. And honestly, like as bad as that was, and I would prefer to live in a world where people didn't feel like they needed to suppress free speech on their platforms. I mean, but people should have the right to decide who's on their platform. Like I shouldn't be forced to platform people that I disagree with on this show.
Right.
Right. This is my small business. The Wake Up America show is, me and my wife and our one part-time employee. And I shouldn't be forced to platform people that want to come in here and talk about communism or something. You know what I mean?
It's right back to the Candace Owens thing from
Yes.
yesterday.
Of the Daily Wire. Right.
Yeah, they're not obligated, and they are not suppressing her free speech by firing her.
But she is going to play the victim and
course.
effectively because everybody, conservative, liberal, like they all love to play the victim. But that's not what censorship truly is. But I mean, nobody wants to hear that, right? They want the government to step in on their behalf. They want to play the progressives' games, and they think that they are going to be like Charlie Brown. This time, Lucy's going to let them kick the football down the field because when you read that article, the Wall Street Journal, it goes on to talk about how, Todd Zwicky is this free market guy at George Mason University, and he's talking to Lena. They invited Lena Khan to the Federalist Club or the Federalist Society, the Society of like more liberty lawyers and stuff. And he's like, I feel like I'm a free market fundamentalist who's been mugged by reality because he got suppressed on social media platforms for his employer trying to mandate him to have a vaccine, and then of course for God's sakes, pretty much all of us were suppressed. Libertarians, conservatives, all of us were suppressed because of our views on the vaccines, and then we turned out to be right. Right? We turned out to be right about the origin of the pandemic. We turned out to be right about masking authoritarianism. We turned out to be right about pretty much damn near everything when it came to the COVID-19 pandemic, and we got suppressed and censored, and a lot of people got butthurt about it, understandably so, justifiably so. But the result of this, and this is my whole point, has been to see now the creation of. I mean, isn't Truth Social? Isn't Donald Trump's Donald Trump is about to take his platform public this morning.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
This morning, Truth Social is about to go public. Yes, Donald Trump's Truth Social platform is about to go public, and he's going to make like the amount of money that he like in theory owes. $454 million, which he's pleaded down to like 150. Right. That amount of money he's projected to earn today.
Interesting. Yeah. I think this is human tendency for people to want things to be fair.
Yes.
Like your kids, like it's just an instinctual thing. You're like, it's not fair. I want it to be fair. And here's like, freedom is not fair. And this is us adulting in America.
Right. Well, because people think they say to themselves, well, Facebook is a monopoly, but it's not a monopoly. YouTube is a monopoly. It's not a monopoly, actually. Now we have, because of YouTube's ill behavior, we are now streaming on Rumble. We've taken our whole audience and we've moved. I'm going to be honest with you. Like, I'm not going to say how much I make, but I make way more on Rumble than I ever made on YouTube. It's better. There are problems with the tech compared to YouTube. It's still a little bit behind in certain ways, but the monetization is better. The audience is better. There, the way that they handle your media, if like you do play clips and things like that, is better. I mean, in every way, if you're a conservative or a libertarian and you're interested in tech, you should be on Rumble, right? And then what's another situation? What else did the censorship regime bear fruit from? Without the censorship, we wouldn't have Elon Musk owning X.
Right. Oh my gosh. And seeing the red pilling of Elon Musk.
Yes.
Wow. I mean, it's just,
now he's like one of us.
Yeah. I mean, like he's literally said the other day, he was like, however long ago, he's like, I 100% voted Democrat. He said, I think the only way to save this country is, the red pill. For voting Republican. I was like, that is just to watch his progression on this. And it's because like everybody has their moment where they experience the very real life impact of that oppression and those bad policies. And they have their aha moment where they wake up and they decide like, that's not great. It's got to be different.
See, this is how like, when we go to church, you hear them talk about how God takes evil and makes good out of it. Right? God takes things and makes them work for his works, for his good. And, you can apply that even to like a universal good, the sense that there are bad things that are always going to happen in this world. But as long as we have freedom from government oppression, as long as there is no one physically blocking my ability to start a new business and to compete with YouTube, then we have the freedom to compete. Because now, one of the things that people will point out and say, they'll look at Parler, for example, and I know you got to go, but Parler, they had the rug ripped out from underneath their thing. But guess what? Rumble now has their own servers. Yes. If Parler had not been destroyed unfairly by Amazon, then we would not have.
We don't know what the light is without the darkness.
Yes, we do. That's a really good point. Let's give it up for Camelia Peterson. She's got to run. Sorry, I kept you a few minutes over. Camelia, anything else you want to share or say before I let you go?
No, it's great to be here. It's always fun.
Yeah, it's always fun. Thank you, Camelia Peterson. When we get back, we'll talk about the breaking news, and I'll talk to you a little bit more about progressivism and how we can avoid it in our lives. Say goodbye to CJ. We appreciate you, and we'll see you on Thursday. Yeah. Well, on the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
Want an engaging website to boost your business? You're just a click away from 5-star Fiverr talent. Hundreds of freelancer skills like web design. Head to Fiverr.com today and get something started.
American conservatism is distinct, like America is distinct from the United Kingdom. American conservatism's roots comes out of the Wild West, out of pioneerism. The difference between American conservatives and European conservatives is that Americans are cowboys. We are that God, guns, gold, and girls. It's wild here, and we should stay that way. We shouldn't allow a European version of conservatism to come and infect us here. We like it wide open spaces here, deep in the heart of Texas and all that.
Hey there, it's your favorite Vice President Joe Biden. I wanted to talk to you today about the Wake Up America show, the best source for all your political news and commentary. But before I get started, let me just make sure I have all my notes in order. Okay, where was I? All right, the Wake Up America show. It's a great way to stay informed and make your voice heard. Boy, what was I saying again? Oh, right. The Wake Up America show. It's important that we all stay engaged and knowledgeable about what's going on in our country and, the thing. But hold on, where was I going with all this? Oh, yeah. The Wake Up America show. It's a fantastic resource. And if you really want to make a difference, man, you can sign up to be a monthly donor at wakeupAmericaShow.com/support. Now, where was I? Oh, that's right, the Wake Up America show. So if you want to stay woke and support a great cause, head on over to wakeupAmericaShow.com/support and sign up to be a monthly donor today. And if you're feeling generous, you can even give a donation in my name. Thanks for listening, and keep on keeping on, America. Come on, man.
George. Thank you for watching the Wake Up America show with my dad. Today, I'd like to share with you 3 reasons why you should visit Dad's online store at apforlibertyshop.com. Number 1. You can get exclusive freedom-loving merch designed by AP himself, or me mum, Steffi. Liberty Laura has made some designs as well, and blimey, they are great! Number 2. Most of these products are so wicked that they aren't even allowed to be advertised on Facebook or Instagram. Modern machine guns and a proper keychain. Plus, our Grover Cleveland t-shirt is so spicy apparently that leftists on Facebook specifically banned it from appearing on the website. Number 3. You're supporting liberty lovers just like you. Spend your money where you earn it, and you help me pups build a community that supports what you believe. Bloody hell! This commercial is running too long. Gotta run. Bye now. Don't forget to visit apforlibertyshop.com. That's apforlibertyshop.com.
Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericashow.com. Thank you very much for tuning into the program today. We're glad to have you here. Please do us a favor, click that like button. And if it's your first time here watching the show, which 546 of you over there, so over on rumble.com. What's up, Rumblers? You the best. I appreciate you guys. There might be a small chance that they put us on the front page of rumble.com. If that's the case and it's your first time watching us here, thanks for tuning in. We appreciate you. The show's schedule is Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. Our friend Hom Tanks joining us here. First time I've seen you here. What's up, Mr. Hom Tanks? Was asking if we were on a little break. Yeah, we take little breaks every once in a while just so I can kind of reset, make sure that I'm staying on topic. I got enough news to cover. At 8:30 a.m. Central Time today, we're going to speak to JD2 Chili from Reason Magazine. He's going to talk about whenever you buy a new vehicle and your car is infested with all of that spyware. Yeah, you know they're spying on you from soup to nuts. He's going to talk a little bit about how you can de-spyify. Is that a thing? What would you call it? Make your car more privacy-licious? I don't know. Good morning. Good morning. It's too early, Air Get Lamb. I know. But that's why we do this show, so that you guys can get in a little bit of a good mood. You know what we should be doing? We should all do a little stretch. Let's do it. Reach your hands over your head. Yes. Now reach down, touch your toes. Okay. Run in place a little bit. Let's get the blood flowing. Grab yourself a box of Founding Flavors coffee. What say you? Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, friends. Well, Hom Tanks, we love your attitude. Appreciate having you here, as well as Lou Grubb, Mighty Megatron, Urs Mommy, Luke Sacker, Real Hunter Human. He's from Argentina. Viva la libertad, carajo. Drinking some yerba mate. My smoking hot redheaded libertarian wifey, Steffi P, joining us live here as well. She's pregnant, and we're gonna have a baby. I can't wait. CJ824 says, great stuff. Have to say my mind has changed. Well, I'm glad that you're here, CJ, because this is a great opportunity. The Wake Up America show is a good opportunity for me to not only talk to you about the news and what's happening around the world, but also just kind of share with you what I've learned over the years about government and economics and markets. So we're sad to see that Camellia had to leave. Yes, she's gone now. But we are going to have another guest here in about 25 minutes. Until then, we should talk a little bit about what's going on in the world. I know that many of you who might be tuning in live right now want to hear about what's happening this morning. You're hearing the breaking news that a ship collided with Francis Scott Key Bridge in Baltimore, causing it to collapse. You can see the video up on your screen right now. See, down here is the the cargo ship. I have a live feed over here. It's currently, is this one still live this morning? Looks like it's a live feed. Yeah, so this is a feed from the Associated Press. And this feed is 3 hours long, so it goes from the moment directly after the incident occurring, and then this morning, this is what it looked like. Reportedly, 7 people had gone into the water. 2 people had been rescued, but as of the latest news reports this morning, we don't have confirmation on whether or not the 2 people who were rescued were part of the 7 who were said to be in the water. I know that's a little confusing this morning, but this is a breaking news story, and we are covering it the best we can as the details are coming in this morning. Again, you can see here, this is the Francis Scott Key Bridge in Baltimore. Several vehicles were reported to be in the water, along with 7 people. This is considered to be a mass casualty event. The latest news that we have, at least according to Joe Spinella, who messaged us this morning over at YouTube, telling us that the belief is that the cargo ship had lost power and drifted off into striking the bridge. Certainly a national tragedy, and one we're going to keep an eye on this morning. If there are breaking news reports according to this, or breaking news at all, I don't always have time to see these things. Well, of course, while I'm live, I don't have a news team. I'm just one guy in a bar in Jefferson City. You're like, what the hell are you talking about? Oh, you're in a bar. It doesn't look like a bar. Well, if you know what, at some moment here in just a second, I will go and I'll turn the cameras around so you guys can see where I'm at. The regular television studio that we broadcast from is being expanded and painted. I hope to be in there again by tomorrow, but we'll see about that. So if you're just joining us live this morning and you'd like to send us a text and let us know about breaking news alerts, you can do so at that number that you see on your screen. If you're listening to the audio version of the podcast later, that number on the screen is 573-319-1586. Again, the text lines are open and you can send me a text anytime, night or day, at 573. It's harder than it looks. 319-1586 right there on the screen. Thank you. That was pretty good, wasn't it? Yes. Tanks reminding us of the location of the commander-in-chief while this is all going down. President Poopy Pants is on vacation, wiping his butt at the moment. Yikes. We are going to be talking to JD2 Chile in about 20 minutes about his story. But before we get there, I thought we could chat a little bit about Robert F. Kennedy Jr., because it appears that President Poopy Pants is literally pooping his pants. The president is putting together a team for the express purpose of attacking RFK Jr. President Biden's team is so worried about Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s potential impact on the election that they've built an entire operation dedicated to attacking Kennedy. Former President Trump's campaign also figures that Kennedy is more likely to pick off votes from Biden than from Trump, so it's content to watch and wait. These contrasting approaches are coming into focus right now as RFK Jr., who is polling better than any independent candidate since Ross Perot in 1992, he's now facing increasing scrutiny. I've got some clips that I've pulled up for you here to see what Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is saying these days that's got so many people talking. Let's take a listen.
When I was a kid, a typical pediatrician would see one case of diabetes in his entire career. Juvenile diabetes. Today, 1 out of every 3 kids who walks through his door has either pre-diabetic or diabetic. Something's wrong. We're spending more just on diabetes than our entire military budget. Okay, so, and nobody's saying, why is this happening? And we know why it's happening. It's high fructose corn syrup, and it's, glyphosate and neonicotinoids and atrazine and all the other crap that is in our food. We're not feeding people, we're poisoning them. There's a study that I read this week that showed that girls who eat processed food are 1,400% more likely to engage in violence than girls who do not. Oh, this is a mental health issue.
I would be a little skeptical of studies like that.
Depression, the anxiety, all of this stuff. The autoimmune diseases that our kids are now ubiquitous, and that kids are not supposed to be sick like that. They're not supposed to be complaining of brain fog. They're not supposed to be on Adderall and albuterol inhalers and insulin and all this other stuff. That is.
I would say that, there's a lot to unpack there from what Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is saying. And I don't think that you should swallow, to use a phrase, wholesale everything that he is saying here, or necessarily accept what Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s conclusions from that will be, which would be to blame the corporations for this. Because like the TikTok ban, like many other, like the social media bill and that Ron DeSantis signed in Florida, the reality is that the responsibility for feeding children is on who? That's right. You guessed it. The parents. Now, when I say that to a conservative or a libertarian audience of who's watching me this morning, you go, yeah, duh, obviously I agree with you. But if you said something like that to the general public, the man on the street, they would respond, yes, you should be a parent. Yes, you should monitor what your child is looking at on social media. There's this whole genre of TikTok videos and YouTube shorts and things that have come out of parents showing up what they plate for their kids on a daily basis. And you see these land whales of mothers, with like, and listen, I was a man, I got a double chin here, but I'm talking about like the chin is the double chin. It's like, how like the frogs have the blah, blah, right? And like that's there permanently, right? And they're plating up their kids' food. And I saw this one woman who her child's breakfast was powdered donuts from the bag and apple juice to drink. Now, is there high fructose corn syrup in apple juice? Maybe, right? Is there high fructose corn syrup in the donuts? Probably. But let's talk about this for a moment. Is it poison? No, it's not poison, because poison is something that if you eat it once, it should kill you or make you sick immediately. So here's the problem with the high fructose corn syrup arguments. One, if you serve it in high enough quantities to anyone over a long enough period, yes, it will make you sick. If you drink a gallon of water in one sitting, that can poison you too. But we don't think of water as a poison, okay? The problem with the high fructose corn syrup arguments is that the reason why it gets demonized is because it packs so much sugar in such a small package, okay? But if they got rid of high fructose corn syrup, what do they replace it with? Sugar. So all you're going to do is replace a small package of sugar with just larger volume of sugar, but people are still going to demand the same amount of sugar. The answer to that problem is either eliminate sugar entirely, which I know many of you are not going to do. Most of you are not going to do. Most parents are not going to do. But some of you might say, well, if I have this much high fructose corn syrup and it's the same amount, if this amount of high fructose corn syrup is the same amount as this amount of sugar, what you might do is consider reducing the amount of high fructose corn syrup, or if you're not eating high fructose corn syrup, reduce the amount of sugar that you're eating, right? Because either way, you're still going to get this amount of high fructose corn syrup in terms of volume is the same as this amount of sugar in volume, right? Dosage is key. There's so many of America's conspiracy theories, right? They rely on the public's misunderstanding of the concept of dosage. It is so important to understand what dosage is and how it impacts what we ingest and what we eat. You can ingest a glass of water and not get sick. If you ingest a gallon or 2 gallons of water, you may die, okay? The attacks of, this is my opinion, okay? And I'm willing to admit that I could be wrong and might be proven wrong in the future, but this is just the best that I can postulate with the information that I have because I'm a skeptical guy, okay? Right? I don't believe the mainstream narratives, and I also don't believe the alternative narratives, okay? I think that everybody's selling us something. That's my view, okay? So what are the anti-high fructose corn syrup people selling us? What are the anti-seed oil people selling us? Well, they're selling us the same books, bullshit courses, exercise plans and regimes and diets that the mainstream media people are getting, like Martha Stewart and others. Are just not getting the same billion-dollar contracts that you get from Betty Crocker. They're getting it from naturalnews.com. But at the end of the day, they're all selling you something, but none of them are going to tell you the truth, which is that you can have certain foods in certain amounts. And they're not, and I promise you that Martha Stewart and natural news idiots are all not going to tell you this, which is that you should be responsible for what goes in your child's mouth. Can I get an amen for those out there who are like me? Yeah, so Andy Opperman is jumping in saying fructose affects the liver in ways glucose does not. I've read that, and I've read some information that actually disagrees with that, right? Ham Tanks is correct when he says you should stop sugar because it feeds cancers and viruses. That is true. Cancers and viruses do feed off of sugar. So lowering your sugar intake overall is a good idea. But I was thinking about this the other day, and I don't want to go off on too much of a tangent, but sometimes, this is my show, and I want to talk to you guys about what I want to talk to you about here. There are a lot of people in this industry, and I say this industry, the media industry, and I'm glad you're here because you're a fan of the media industry. It helps support, my program and talk show, right? And some of you don't like what I have to say, are not going to like what I have to say here. But this is how you know I'm being honest, okay? If the person that you're listening to typically in the media, and for many of you, it's the first time hearing my voice, some of the stuff that you're going to hear from me, you're not going to like. It's going to clang on your ears, right? And some of you might run away and hate me forever, and that's fine. But if you have ears to hear, let them listen. If your talk show host or your media person isn't saying something at least every once in a while that goes against typically what you might want to hear, they're probably not being honest with you. If the person that you listen to all the time is always giving you that red meat, exactly what it is that you want to hear, and you never find yourself disagreeing with them at all, they're playing you, okay? And this is how you know that I'm not playing you, okay? So here's the problem with people in the media. This is what you got to look out for. These are the real secrets. And I've worked at mainstream media, I've worked at an alternative media, and I'm building my own platform now. So this is one thing that I am experienced about and I can speak to for sure. When people like me, and I say like me, build platforms around niches or topics, or political viewpoints, whether it's libertarianism, conservatism, or conspiracy theories, or this or that. As people grow and they change, they might change their minds about things. What happens to someone who builds a platform based around a series of topics or a niche if that person changes their mind? Do you think that most people think that when they start their career in media, that they're the same person who believes the same things exactly at the end of their careers? That is probably not the norm. It does happen. And I would say in my case that, I'm still in many ways, the libertarian I was in 2008 until today, except for a few things that I have changed my mind on and that I've openly, pronounced my heresies on from, libertarianism trademark, at least the American version of libertarianism, whether foreign policy or some conspiracy theories and things. But here's the problem. When people like myself, I say like myself, not necessarily myself, because I am an honest person telling you what I believe and what I think, and that I do change my mind on things. What happens if you change your mind on something like, let's say what if you build an entire career around demonizing seed oils, and then come to find out 10 years later that, well, you can have avocado oil and a little bit and make eggs with it in the morning, but just don't overdo it, right? What happens if you've built an entire career around demonizing seed oils? There are people who do this, right? Their entire careers based around demonizing these certain types of food. I mean, here's the thing. What did we know about food 30 years ago? So much has changed. In 10 years, what we know about food. Do you really think that what we know about food today is going to be locked in? Or that we're not going to find out more 10, 15 years from now? We may 10, 15 years from now find out that, actually sugar is not really going to be the thing that you necessarily have to avoid to fight cancer. Maybe you need to eat sugar because, it actually helps the self-destruction process. We don't know, okay? The point is, what I'm trying to tell you is that in order to spot, I'm going to say a bad word, in order to spot bullshit artists, right, you have to think about what their incentives are, okay? People like me are incentivized to tell you only what you want to hear every day, forever. Now, if I always got on this show and said things that I think my audience wouldn't agree with, I obviously wouldn't be in business, okay? I would not be able to be successful as a talk show host standing in a very cold bar where I'm kind of freezing my butt off this morning and hoping to God that I get enough viewers to feed my little baby that's going to be born in a few months, okay? So the question is can you recognize people in the media who maybe God, I can't tell you how many people I've seen who have stopped believing, they've stopped sniffing their own farts, and they don't believe what they believed 5-10 years ago, but it's a business now. It's an industry. right? You're selling books, right? You're selling memberships, you're selling courses. And what if you don't believe it anymore? What do you do? Do you just walk away from that audience, right? There was that OnlyFans model recently who converted to Christianity. She didn't leave her audience behind, right? She found a way to transition her brand, right? And that's what the best, the richest, the wealthiest, the most powerful, the ones with the biggest clout, that's what they do. And if you want to stay alive in this business, and if you change your minds on things, maybe she has had a change of heart. Maybe she really did find Jesus. I don't know. But learn to spot the bullshit artists and just ask yourself the incentives that people have to give you like health and food advice. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is not qualified to give you medical or health advice. Let me repeat this, okay, for those out there who might be big fans. I'm not a fan of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. because I think he's a bullshit artist, because I think he's a gun grabber. I think he's an environmental commie. And I think that he has transitioned his brand to sound good to people who are of my ideological ilk, more libertarian types who are skeptical of big pharma, rightfully so, skeptical of globalism, rightfully so. And I think that he's the only fan slut who transitioned to Christ in recent years. Well, I'm sorry, sir, but we don't take the prostitutes that just came in from the rain and say, guess what? You're now the pastor of the congregation because you accepted Christ. Okay, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., you're not fit to lead this nation. Okay, not a fan. Am I a fan of some of the things he's been saying recently? Sure. Do I like that he's saying things that I agree with now? Great. Has he made his transition for Christ legitimately? Who can say? I can't say. But I do know that typically once a whore, always a whore. And I'm not nominating a whore for president of the United States. I'm voting for Donald Trump. He's a politician. That's correct. And I see the chat is agreeing with me this morning, but I've also scared off about 40 or 50 of you from Rumble this morning. So glad to have you here. But Blue Trike says, whoa, I'm late, but poison is about dose, toxicity, times toxicity. Your definition is flawed. Okay, well, okay, true. So then water becomes poison at a certain percentage. Blue Trike. I mean, we're essentially saying the same thing to a degree. You say he's one listener says that I don't like his ideas about anything, but I think he's right about food. There we go. Mighty Megatron says, you mean to tell me Al Gore isn't a climate protector? Ha ha ha. Next, you'll tell me he didn't invent the internet either, AP. So I think we've raised about $4 of the goal to raise $50 by the end of the show. So we've only got 30 minutes to see it. Here's what I suggest you guys might want to do. If you'd like to see today's bonus content, I haven't really been promoting it that heavily, and many of you have never watched the show, so you don't know what I'm talking about. But every day I produce a mini documentary for the show as bonus content. And today might be the first day that we actually don't raise $50 either in super chats or in Rumble rants or shop purchases to unlock it. And if it does, then it goes away forever. So, but if you would like to find out what today's libertarian film is, one of the most libertarian films in U.S. history, then you can unlock the bonus content by making a Rumble Rant donation or making a purchase at apforlibertyshop.com. I did see that Joe Spinella donated $5 over on YouTube earlier, so 5, 6, 7, 8. So we've raised $9 towards our $50 goal. Don't laugh at me. I haven't been trying, but we do have awesome bonus content for you today. So if you would like to see that by the end of the show, here's what I suggest you do in order to get up to that $50 total. Purchases at apforlibertyshop.com count. And you may not have even known that I have a merchandise shop, but we sell delicious coffee based around the theme of the Founding Fathers. It's called Founding Flavors Coffee. If you're a fan of Javier Milei of Argentina, I've built the best merchandise collection for Javier Milei in the entire country. You can buy a box of coffee and a t-shirt this morning, or just buy a pair of Javier Milei sneakers, and that's enough to unlock the content. Now, here's the thing. When you go over to apforlibertyshop.com, I know many of you are going to see that pop up with the spin the wheel thing come up on your screen. You're just going to automatically close it. You could literally save 20% off of your purchase if you spin that wheel, or you could even win like a $5 gift certificate on that wheel. And all you got to do is just spin the wheel, you'll give me obviously your email and phone number so I can market to you. But if you want to buy something from the shop and save 20%, or you get a $5 gift certificate, or 5 or 10, 15%, whatever you win when you spin the wheel, then don't close that pop-up when it comes up. Use the spin to win, and then you'll get a code depending on whatever you win. Everybody wins over there. I think the wheel gives you something no matter what. So head over to apforlibertyshop.com, spin the wheel, get yourself a box of coffee, 20% off, or get yourself a Javier Malay pair of sneakers, 20% off, or $5 off, and you'll unlock the bonus content. Nelson65 says, give us the bonus content. Yes, we're now like $15. Oh, Andy, did you buy coffee? Okay, you did. I'll put that into the total. I'm going to go count up the numbers. We'll see where we're at. We're probably now about like $25 away or so. Head over to apforlibertyshop.com, spin that wheel, get yourself another box of coffee, 20% off or so, and we'll get back. We're going to talk about how you can get all that spyware out of your car when we get back on the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. Hey guys, so I just checked, and so we're, instead of doing a normal commercial break, I'm going to go ahead and play the bonus content because it looks like Andy Opperman unlocked it for you. Thanks, Andy. Thanks to Everett Nelson65 and Mighty Megatron and Joe Spinella for unlocking the bonus content, supporting the Wake Up America show. Here's your bonus video today. Enjoy.
The Cantina crew, this is Elon Musk, the CEO of Twitter, and I just want to say thank you for watching the Wake Up America show. I've decided that Austin Peterson will be the new CEO of Twitter.com, effective immediately. First thing to do, though, is...
Welcome back to the Wake Up America show. I'm your host, Austin Peterson. Thanks for sticking around, and thanks for unlocking that bonus content. It's been a hugely successful program helping us to grow the Wake Up America show. Our revenue streams are looking green. This week's theme: most libertarian films in U.S. history. And today's little mini documentary that you all just unlocked with your generous donations and purchases from the shop was Shenandoah, starring Jimmy Stewart, a very libertarian anti-war film, and who knows what tomorrow's will be. So thank you so much for an unbroken streak for a month and a half of unlocking the bonus content every single day. I appreciate all of your support and well wishes. The Wake Up America show is growing like crazy. We added our first new employee last week that we haven't had an employee since like last year, but thanks to all your generous donations and contributions, not only is the show growing, but my family is growing as well. And it's thanks to people like you who are helping keep Liberty Media like this, independent, free, and strong. Another gentleman who's joining us now to talk about liberty, who's part of the free media, is JD Too Chilly. Good morning, JD. Nice to have you back here, sir.
Good morning to you. Well, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, glad to have you here, JD. I love reading your pieces. I'm subscribed to the Rattler newsletter over at Reason.com. I'm a big fan of it. I read every word that you write, pretty much, over at Reason.com. Definitely one of my favorite writers, and it's because of stories that you write like this, which is to talk about the amount of spyware that is built into our vehicles these days, which has gotten absolutely out of control. And not only are corporations going to access this data, but I imagine governments are going to want access to this travel data as well, aren't they, JD?
Oh, absolutely true. I mean, this has been a kind of a growing concern for a number of years, is that as our vehicles get computerized, they're connected to the internet, they offer in-cab Wi-Fi. We can find a vehicle if it's stolen, or simply we misplace it in a parking garage because they've GPS built in, and they're always wired, connected by Wi-Fi to the world around them. But there's a price for that, and that price is that our privacy is compromised. This came to a head recently. The New York Times ran a piece about how some people are getting surprise hikes in their car insurance bills. And when they check in with their insurance agents and they pick up their LexisNexis reports, because LexisNexis compiles data on consumers, which is another thing to consider about what's going on out there. But LexisNexis compiles data on consumers. They find out that a lot of car makers report data on the people who purchased their cars to LexisNexis. Insurance companies then buy that data and they interpret it. And this data includes things like how often you use your brakes, how fast you go, where you go, how many trips you take. And they might put you in a higher risk category based upon this reporting that your car is sending to the automaker. The automaker is going to LexisNexis, and LexisNexis is then bending over to the insurance companies. All this going on behind the scenes without you knowing what's going on every time you stop short at a stop sign.
Now, JD, obviously, people who watch my show are deeply concerned about their privacy, but they believe that private companies have the right to set up private contracts with individuals. So, I mean, when people buy a new car, they get tons of paperwork typically. I mean, is this kind of like that software that you download on your computer that has, the end user license agreement that's 500 pages and nobody reads? So we basically consent to it when we buy the car, or what?
Austin, are you there?
Yeah, can you hear me still? JD, are you there?
Your audio just went haywire.
Okay, hold on one second. JD, is this better? Can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, now I can hear you.
Okay, not quite sure what happened there, but hold on just one second, JD. I've got you back through the machine. Can you hear me now? Sorry about that, JD. We've got you now. I've got you on the old analog thing. So you didn't hear my question, I assume? So end user license agreements, when you sign up for an application, right? There's 5 pages of terms that most people don't read. Are we signing up for that typically, the spying on us when we go and we buy a car, or does this go over and above the contract terms?
Yes. It's one of those things where you go to the dealership and they say they're going to gamify your driving experience and you can adjust your driving and maybe you can bring down your insurance rate. So he knew he'd signed up for a program. He didn't know what the implications were, though. In other cases, though, in those reams of paperwork you sign at the dealership, it might be something that you signing up for an insurance app or just for data sharing with the car company. And unless you're on top of this and are aware that the data is being shared and being piped off, you may not realize that your movements and even your driving habits are being monitored and turned into something that could affect your insurance rates. Even the apps you hook up to your car. If you use I think Android and Apple both have driving apps you can hook up, that also can pipe your data off into the ether. So you got to be very careful about what you attach to your system and what you agree to. Basically, most of our modern cars are smartphones with wheels. And so as long as that connection is there, that data can be streaming off into the ether. Now, this is all about the costs that go up. But all that data is out there is available to anybody. And the fact is that there are decades of Supreme Court decisions basically saying that cars are Fourth Amendment free zones, that the cops can just access. And this was applied years ago to like looking through your car and checking anything that's opened, any containers, and see if you have a firearm and but it's been interpreted by the courts to also mean the data that's stored in the onboard computers. And once you sync your phone, very often, all the data in your phone is hoovered up into the system. And everything, including your driving history, including what was hoovered from your phone, is now available by request to the police. And that includes if they go not to your car, but to your car company. Their end, because your car has been streaming that data to the car. So it's not just a matter of how much your insurance bill goes up. It's a matter of government agencies being able to track you just by asking for that data for themselves.
Now, JD, I know that you're a skeptical guy, skeptical of big government, but also skeptical of corporations as well. So the part of this story that I was really keen to discuss today was your personal experience with your Toyota 4Runner. Would you like to talk us through that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I had done two-part answer here. One, I was concerned about privacy when I bought my Toyota 4Runner. It's a 2022, so a 5th-gen model. I bought it recently. The Electronic Frontier Foundation also recently published a guide to automobile privacy. how we can check on our cars to see how much data they're compiling and if there's anything we can do about it. So they say you should drop your the VIN, your car vehicle identification number, into Privacy for Cars vehicle privacy report online, and it'll tell you roughly what kind of data that model collects. In my case, I had already done something like that. I already knew I was concerned because Toyota has a terrible privacy policy. So what I did is I hit the SOS button in my cab, which dials directly through the cell network to the manufacturer. And I asked to opt out of data sharing, and Toyota does let you do that. And so they said, no problem. I understand they used to push back, but it's become more and more of an issue. People are concerned about privacy. So they said, no problem. They opted me out of data sharing, and they sent me an email acknowledging my choice and kind of listing off all the services and location that would not be available because I had opted out of data sharing. But that's a matter of trust. That's me saying, okay, the mothership is no longer going to be trying to hoover up the information from my car. How do I keep my car from sending it if somehow the mothership turns out not to be trustworthy? The fact is, because it's a big smartphone, basically, because my Forerunner is connected to the internet, it has a data communication module. So I found the fuse for that. It's a 7.5 amp fuse. It's in there's two fuse boxes in my car. One is under the dashboard. All I had to do was bend over backwards under my dashboard, find that box, and pull that fuse for the data communication. And that means that the car is now physically unable to stream my data. That ACM is no longer powered. I also lost the internal microphone in my cab because I don't want to sync my phone with the car anyway. That's not a big deal for me. I just won't sync my phone through it. Don't have to worry about the microphone not working.
Oh, JD, killing us here. Because when I hear you say this, I'm like,
yep.
My libertarian side is like, awesome. But my techie side is like, damn, you're losing a lot of functionality on that vehicle.
I am, except I grew up, my favorite car of all time was a 1977 Jeep Wagoneer. And for the four-wheel drive, I had to get out and lock the hubs by. You know what? So I don't miss having the smartphone features in my vehicle. I don't want them. I admit that's a trade-off for a lot of people. We have to make our own choices. This is the choice that I made.
Well, you're a self-described hard-ass desert anarchist. So, I mean, you're okay with that hard scrabble lifestyle. But us city slickers, and I say Jefferson City, it's a rural city, but I mean, us city slickers, we like to have our hands-free driving while we're chatting with our sweetheart libertarian wifeys back at home. So, and when you do something like that too, don't you invalidate the warranty?
Probably. Now, I did use the fuse box links. When I take it into the dealer, I really plug back the iteration that's pull it out.
Oh.
So each vehicle vehicle to vehicle. So check the wiring or just pull it out and see what you lose. And some vehicles it might be one of the speakers, it might be something else. You really got to check, obviously. But there are always trade-offs involved. And yeah, I'm sure I avoided the warranty, but you know what? Maybe the fuse blew. Who knew?
Or somebody must have tried to like hotwire your vehicle or something. You could always say, but no, that's interesting, JD. I mean, you're a braver man than I, Gunga Din. But I guess I guess that my concern is because I'll be real. Like I don't read the EULA agreements. I use all the spyware features on my car because I like them and they're convenient and they're fun. I can jam out to my music through YouTube on my Bluetooth connected to my vehicle and then answer a call if I want. But what I'm really concerned about at the end of the day as a libertarian, JD, is the spying of the government. So the concern should be for people like myself that the data that I am generating by using all of these technologies in my vehicle is being turned over to the government ostensibly in violation of my Fourth Amendment rights, correct?
Correct. Your Fourth Amendment basically doesn't cover you when you're in a vehicle. And I was writing about those decisions years ago, long before the smartphone was in the cars. I mean, just when they were using the plain, what's in plain view, we can search your vehicle. We don't need a warrant to search your car because it's not home because reasons that were made up by courts. And this is, kind of that unintended consequences, extrapolation of that is the fact that so much data is now compiled and stored by our vehicles that those old decisions apply to that data too, including the stuff it sucks up as soon as you sync your cell phone to the car. And then because the cars then beam that data to the mothership, to the manufacturer, that data is now available not just in your car, but from a central location over at GM or Toyota or Nissan, wherever it may be. So, yeah, that's basically a Fourth Amendment free zone. And we're making an awful lot of information available to government agencies, police included, for availability at their request without a warrant.
Are there any other, factors around this story that you think are necessary for our privacy-sensitive audience? Anything else that we might have missed that you think they ought to know when it comes to privacy in their vehicles?
I mean, if you're worried about this, you disable all these tracking filters in your car because you've got your cell phone sitting next to you. Unless you've also done things to your cell phone, like disable ad tracking on your cell phone, still trackable. Our phones by themselves tracking devices. I long ago disabled ad tracking in my phone. It doesn't, to the extent that I can, does not work as a GPS monitoring device on me anymore. But our cell phones are absolutely awful for privacy, in addition to our vehicles. So if you're going to worry about privacy in the case of one device, worry about it with the other device too, because both your phone and your car are broadcasting your location to the world pretty much at all times.
This is good stuff. Hey, JD, I've got you for maybe another couple of minutes, and I had a question on an unrelated topic that you had written about another nasty election looming. Prepping goes mainstream. I love to brag that during the pandemic, that the people who came out the best were the preppers, right? Who already had a year and a half of toilet paper stashed away and didn't have to rush to the store and compete with others for it. But now that we've got another election looming where, there really are no pro Second Amendment candidates who are running. Some are maybe better than others. But at the end of the day, whenever an election comes, gun shop sales start to really kick off. But there's more than just guns, just fire and lead that people like ourselves should be thinking about before a president, Trump is reelected or Biden is reelected. So, prepping has kind of gone mainstream. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, I mean, basically, it's a matter of social unrest and then resulting disruptions. This election looks to be at least as nasty as 2020, if I'm looking into my very cracked crystal ball at this moment in history. But the Department of Homeland Security is warning of potential violence in this election. And when they ask the people, they anticipate some violence involved in this election and also elections in the future. We're kind of on an unpleasant and then the social tensions, the political tensions, way high. You can kind of feel it, I think, in a lot of communities. And what that means is that if things go south, with this coming election, you could be in a situation where you don't want to go into city centers, where you don't necessarily want to leave your neighborhood all the time, where it becomes something you've got to consider just to go to the grocery store. And that means that prepping a little bit for, let's say, a few weeks of disruptions is probably a good idea. And it's been anticipated. They've seen a jump in prepping numbers. They're seeing a lot of people who beyond the traditional prepping community, minorities, people on the political left who aren't just kind of from the old hippie community, all sorts of people anticipating disruptions this year and putting together the ability to, say, stockpile some food, put a garden together. I just trenched around our garden yesterday. We're planting quite a crop this year. Just to have the ability to sustain themselves and help their neighbors should things get unpleasant around and then after the election this coming year. And of course, it's not just the election. I mean, always storms, power outages. This is life. You don't want to rely on good times and easy times all the time. Just take this election as a reminder that the good times aren't guarantees and that we should always be ready. Have a little slack in our lives to allow ourselves to get through difficult times if they should come, because we may well have some difficult times on the way.
JD Tuccilli, thank you for the stark warning there. And your pieces over at Reason.com are terrific, but people can also sign up for the newsletter to get your columns and op-eds in the Rattler newsletter. Is there anything else you'd like to share or plug or let people know where to follow you?
I'm also writing for the National Post, which is a Canadian newspaper. You probably don't have too many Canadian listeners right now, but the pieces there are all about American politics. May well be of interest to your audience.
Au contraire, mon frere. Bruce Birtwistle from Canada joins us every morning. So we do have about a half dozen people who like to join us from Canada and the Great White North today. So hopefully they'll tune in to you over there at National Post and take a listen to what you have to say over there as well. JD, thanks for being so generous with your time and joining us on this program. And thank you for your excellent work at Reason.com.
Thanks so much for having me on. You take care.
Have a good one. What'd you guys think of JD Tuccille? Good stuff, eh? Ooh, man, doing this show will wear you out. Here we are, 8:50 a.m. Central Time in the morning. We're grateful to have all of our friends joining us live at rumble.com, 457 people or so joining us live. And over at x.com on that platform, it looks like we've got about 529 people. So, almost 1,000 people joining us live. It's nothing to sniff at. And I'm thankful for all of you. I do hope that you have enjoyed the Wake Up America show today, and you can say that you knew us when me and Steffi and our little baby and our first employee that is really kicking ass can say that we started another show and another show and another show, and soon enough we'll have our own sort of libertarian version of the Daily Wire. Wouldn't you love to see that? Well, just by watching, you're helping to support that and to make that happen. You're helping our family to grow. You're helping the show to grow. I'm really excited about my new staffer. I've got a part-timer who's working for us out of Kansas City, doing some part-time stuff. I'm hoping to make him full-time, but we're doing what we can to make payroll for him and to eat ourselves and to keep producing the Wake Up America show. People like you who have been donating to the show, unlocking the bonus content, have been a big part of making the show successful. Thank you to all of you. And I checked in on youtube.com and I saw William Wells had donated $10. Thank you, William. Good morning. Glad to see you here, and thank you for your support. He says, hey, I joined the LP because of you. Still there as well. Good for you. He says, I became more so in the years, but as Larry Sharp said, you are still our 80% to me, which is why I still follow. Thank you, William. And my old friend, Jacob Champion. When you need a champion, you call Jacob. He says, Prekpers are dumb. What are you expecting to happen? It's not like a container ship is going to take out the nearby port where the coal and gas for power plants are unloaded. Thanks. Thanks so much to all of you who've joined us. No matter what platform you're on this morning, I'm very grateful to you all. It's nice to see people that I know that I'm friends with in real life, like Andy Opperman and like Jacob Champion and others. And then we've got Urs Mommy out in Massachusetts, Nancy Solorio, people that I've never met as well who are big supporters of the show. I am all grateful for you all. Thank you. This is going to be an exciting year. I'm working on some exciting projects, some of which the documentary, my first full-length documentary, which should be coming out later this year on the Battle of Athens, and then some other projects that I'm working on. I'm just spending a lot of time gaining some new types of production skills that I'm not going to be able to share with you for some time, but you're going to see little sneak previews of here and there. But needless to say, as soon as the show's over, I'm going to go home and I've got all these tutorials. But it's because I really believe in the future of the Wake Up America show and a libertarian network. And I know that I can't afford right now to hire people with these skills. So guess what? It's AP, figure it out, AP, figure it out on your own. But you guys will be the ones who will benefit because you're going to start seeing some exciting new types of content coming on the Wake Up America show this year. Thanks for keeping us in business. Thanks for keeping us alive. Thanks for keeping the ideas of liberty, economic freedom, and personal liberties as well alive. It's people like you that help us to grow. You're supporting small families, small businesses. My little baby Hazel, she's going to be born here, just in a few months. Very excited. I can't wait to go home right now and see my smoking hot redheaded libertarian wife. Give her a little kiss for you. Have a good one. Bye-bye, Jacob Champion. See you later, Quest Fanning, Robbie Theraman, InJam 77, Bitchmobile, Sign of Jonah, Barney Styles, Urs Mommy, Mighty Megatron, Carol CC. What's up, Carol? Who else we got? Bruce Birtwistle. What's up? Bell R, Captain Tight Pants, Luke Sacker, Sign of Jonah, Lou Grubb, all of our friends over at rumble.com and elsewhere. We'll see you guys tomorrow right here on the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
Expanse of time, a year might seem like a mere moment, but oh, what a year it's been. In September 2022, Austin and Stephanie Peterson embarked on a journey to wake up America. They began humbly, with just 20 souls tuning in, learning, listening, and though challenges arose, like the looming shadow of YouTube demonetization, their spirit never waned. And now, thanks to you, thousands rise with the sun to join them, to listen, to engage, to be a part of a community. So here's to you, and to Wake Up America, for memories shared, for friends made, for the journey ahead, and for never, ever forgetting to rise and freedom. Happy anniversary.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message. Believe me, Austin Peterson is the best. He's got the greatest Wake Up America show I've ever seen. Whenever I tune in the mornings and watch the live stream, let me tell you, he has got the absolute best content. I love his guests. It's just a total blast to watch, and I highly endorse and recommend the Wake Up America show. It's terrific, believe me.
Is the outdoor of your home about as exciting as a library? Then spice it up and unbore your space with our custom metal signs. Crafted with love and a bit of libertarian magic, you can customize your own metal sign at ap4libertyshop.com. So head to ap4libertyshop.com, customize your own metal sign today.
Welcome to a world of vocal discovery at Peterson Voice Studio. I'm Justin Peterson, here to guide your musical journey. Envision a place where your voice reaches new heights, where every note tells a story. We embrace all singers, from the enthusiastic shower vocalists to aspiring stars, ensuring each voice finds its unique rhythm and tone. Are you ready to elevate your voice? Visit petersonvoicestudio.com and sign up for remote lessons tailored just for you. Let's begin this melodious journey together.
Tired of spending your hard-earned money on woke corporations that don't share your pro-freedom values? Fed up with sipping liberal lattes and progressive cappuccinos? Introducing Founding Flavors from AP4Liberty Shop. Get your day started with Washington's Revolutionary Roast. As robust and principled as the man himself, this blend is the shot of energy heard round the world. Or maybe you want to taste the fervor of freedom with Adams's Patriotic Perk. It's as dynamic and balanced as the U.S. Constitution, sure to awaken your spirit of liberty. For the aficionados, we've got the Jeffersonian Java, a complex mix of flavors that speaks volumes about your refined tastes. And don't forget Betsy's Liberty Lullaby, our decaf option, crafted with the same care and dedication Betsy Ross put into our Star-Spangled Banner. This blend lets you enjoy the taste of freedom anytime without losing sleep. No woke beans here, folks, just pure patriotic pro-freedom flavors brewed with love for liberty. So why compromise your principles for a cup of coffee? Stand up for your values, perk up your patriotism, and start your day the American way. Get your Founding Flavors at ap4libertyshop.com.